Parkour athletes effortlessly leap onto railings, but the next moment, one nearly falls into the water. Thankfully, they manage to stabilize their bodies just in time. Can you pull off such a move? A group of parkour athletes challenge each other to see who can land steadily on a railing over the water. The first challenger, Jack, demonstrates his skills. He chooses the narrowest gap and with a simple jump, lands on the railing with no pressure at all. But he's not done yet. With a quick turn and a light leap, he returns to the shore, completing the challenge successfully. This sparks Tom's competitive spirit. Tom confidently declares that if he's going to try, he'll make it harder. Tom chooses a wider gap, but before jumping, he hesitates, unsure of his starting position. He leaves enough distance, jumps effortlessly, and lands on the railing. However, he doesn't stabilize his body in time and falls backward into the water. Tom fails the challenge. The next challenger, George, also gives himself enough running space and leaps with ease, landing precisely on the railing. However, George doesn't stabilize himself fast enough, but he quickly grabs onto the railing, preventing himself from falling into the water. Though he avoids the splash, George still fails the challenge. He tries again. This time, he takes a big step and lands on the railing, but his reaction is a beat too slow, and he accidentally falls into the water. John watches George's two failed attempts and seems to have an epiphany. He turns and heads toward the street. With a light jump, he clears half of the street. John is suddenly full of confidence. He takes a longer run-up, then lands firmly on the third section of the railing. It turns out the previous tests weren't about adjusting the running distance, but testing how far he could jump. Everyone cheers for John. Meanwhile, Jimmy seems eager to give it a try. With the same running distance, Jimmy lands on the railing using only the tips of his toes. He's still wobbling, trying hard to stabilize himself, but eventually he maintains his balance in an exaggerated pose. The final challenger is Anna. She picks the second widest gap. On her first attempt, Anna doesn't stabilize her body in time and falls into the water. On her second attempt, Anna successfully lands on the railing, but her hands are still in the air, trying to keep her balance. Eventually, she stabilizes herself and completes the challenge. Seeing that only he hasn't succeeded, Tom feels a bit frustrated. He decides to give it one last try. After several meters of running, Tom finally lands on the railing. However, he still hasn't stabilized his body. He struggles to adjust his posture, but in the end, he successfully stays on the railing. If it were you, which section of the railing would you be able to land on and stay?